Now, moving into our topic, Crusades and Inquisitions. What are they exactly? This was spawned by Obama's comments regarding Christians, such as the Crusaders and the Inquisitioners, being no different than ISIS, which we strongly disagree.
Yeah, we strongly disagree because Obama is nothing but a heretic.
Oh, okay. We strongly disagree with his statements regarding that, and let's get into the Crusades. First, what are the Crusades? Do you know what the Crusades are?
I know what the Crusades are. I've read their books, night books. I can tell you all about the Crusades. Okay, the Crusades are a line of military campaigns that have armor, chainmail, and they turned over from chainmail to plate armor because chainmail you get stabbed. But chainmail is often used in the Middle Ages. The first crusade sacked Antioch and went to Jerusalem, and they went to Bethlehem to free them from the Muslims. Sadly, what was it again? Emperor who got arrested.
Oh, I don't remember his name.
I think his name is Alexei II.
Alexis, yeah, the emperor at that time for the First Crusade, Alexis, petitioned Rome, and Pope Urban II then convoked a council, Claremont.
But later, they were sacking they were trying to take over Antioch when all of a sudden the Muslims came and arrested Alexei, the emperor, and the emperor, the Byzantine emperor who got arrested sadly, called the Crusades for help, and all of a sudden the Crusades get starving outside the walls of Antioch, where Ignatius died.
I think you got a lot of the points there about the Crusades.
And the Crusades were sadly took over Jerusalem, and sadly they're not anymore Crusades. They're just Crusades that got demonized.
The Crusades did get demonized. What they are, yes, you're right. They were expeditions undertaken in fulfillment. This is from the New Advent. In fulfillment of solemn vow to deliver the holy places from Mohammedan tyranny. The first one was called in 1096, as we stated. It was called by Urban II, who was hailed by the Byzantine Emperor Alexis. And when he called it, he said, "God wills it." Popular dukes and monarchs involved with that first crusade: Godfrey of Bouillon, Hugh of Vermandois, St. Giles, Bohemond, and Peter the Hermit. And as we mentioned, and I probably slaughtered some of those names, as we mentioned, they took Nicaea, Antioch, and Jerusalem. That was the first crusade. And it went from 1096 to 1099 when they finally took Jerusalem. There were 8 crusades. Well, there were probably more than that, but 8 notable crusades, beginning, of course, in with the call of it in 1095, but all the way until 1270. There were little things after that, but those were the most notable ones. 8 crusades. It was in reaction to what had been, over the course of time from the 7th century on, Islamic imperial aggression that began as small warring tribes and eventually became somewhat of an empire. But the Turks were threatening. They had been taking land from the Byzantine Empire, and over the course of a number of losses, finally the emperor of the Byzantine Empire hailed the Western Pope Urban, and that's when you begin the Crusades, the series of expeditions to free those lands from the Muslims' rule. So that really is a snapshot of the Crusades, and I don't think when you look at the snapshot of what a crusade is, I don't think it is comparable to what we see in the Middle East today. Though there were some atrocities by some of the Crusaders, the desire was to stop this continuing onslaught that they saw from the Islamic Empire at that time. So that, I think, really does settle the question and issue of the Crusades. What about the Inquisition? What do we know of the Inquisition?
Nothing.
Nothing. You don't know as much about the Inquisitions, do you?
No, I don't know because I've never listened to it.
Yeah, we mainly about the Crusades, aren't we? Because you like the knights. I like knights, too. We have knights on our cups. See? And this one, St. George and the Dragon. So, we love knights. The Inquisitions, what are they? Basically, the Latin term means to inquire. It's a Latin term. The New Advent defines it as a special ecclesial institution for combating heresy. That is what it is. Regardless of what people do with such an expedition or an institution, that is the nature of the institution. They began in the 12th century to combat a number of heresies. And the most popular one is the Spanish Inquisition. That's the one that gets the most flack. It lasted from the 14th century to roughly the 15th century. And the Inquisition, the ecclesial institution, basically somewhat ended in the 20th century, although it changed, and it took on a different name. Now it's more known as the CDF, the Congregation for the Doctrine of Faith, and I think there's some tweaking in what they do specifically. But at least that's what I've read. I don't have the insight on that. But the Inquisitions, we can't get into this much detail. It would take a lot longer. But what we know is, at the very basis of it, the inquiry by an ecclesial institution for combating heresy in of itself is not bad. And when we look at various professionally written, scholarly written books regarding Inquisitions, I think you can see then, past the popular myth, that they were all atrocious. We won't get into that today, maybe another time.